times roll.
Welcome to All Ears, the official podcast of the Cedar Rapids Kernels, presented by Miracle Ear. I'm your host and voice of the Kernels, Calvin Cristoforo. On the podcast, you'll hear from past and present Cedar Rapids baseball influencers, including players, managers, executives, insiders, and more.
Cedar Rapids Kernels, let the good times roll.
It's an off-season edition of the Kernels All Ear podcast presented by Miracle Ear. We welcome in the 2023 Midwest League Manager of the Year, a Midwest League Champion. Manager Brian Dinkelman joins the program for our first guest here in the offseason. Coach, how's the offseason been? You've had a couple of weeks to reminisce on this title run. How are things?
All good, Calvin. Back at home with the family and enjoying some downtime and playing a little bit of golf here in the offseason and getting ready for next season here shortly.
Well, there you go. You've had some time to digest what was a crazy, successful, winning season in 2023. What do you think right now when you pause and look back on it? What are some of the things you're going to remember as highlights of what was this past season?
Yeah, what an incredible season. From the start that was slow for us, and then we got on a roll there in May, and it seemed like, we just kept winning series after series and was able to get into the playoffs once again, and then, finally to get over that hump and win a championship there in Cedar Rapids, which I know has been a long time coming. And, I know everybody in the Kernels and with the Twins are excited to finally get that championship.
29 years since the last championship. Benji Molina, who we had honored into the Kernels Hall of Fame this year, was on that team back in 1994. So that just gives you a snapshot of how long it's been. Let's start at the beginning. You mentioned the slow start. 5-0 to begin the season, and then 5 wins, 8 straight losses. You're sitting at 5-8. That 8-game losing streak did end up being the longest of the season, but it felt like the team got off to such a hot start at 5-0 and then 8 straight losses, and you look up, you're 5-8.
Yeah, with our roster that we had coming out of spring training, we had a lot of young guys. So we figured there would probably be some ups and downs early in the season until everybody got comfortable. And, I think 8's probably a little bit more than what we were hoping for a little bit of a tough stretch. But, once we got through that and the guys started settling in and played pretty well there for a while, was able to start winning some series. So, not the ideal start that we wanted there after the 8 straight losses.
8 straight losses, you're 5-8, and you lost 5 of 6 in the series against Beloit. I don't want to harp on the negatives here because this is a positive episode we're doing, but you guys did not lose another series after that in Beloit outside of the state of Wisconsin. You were winless in series in Wisconsin, but you were unbeaten in series out of Wisconsin, 6-game series it is, because we did have that, I say we, but the team of that 2 to 3 win streak at the end of the All-Star break, the 3-game series in Beloit. But what was up with Wisconsin? Everywhere else, it was good. North Country, not so good.
Yeah, for some reason we went up there, just had a tough time. We had that first series there in Beloit, and it was not ideal conditions that week, and we didn't play our best at the time and, dropped that series. And then whenever we went to Wisconsin, they had a good team up there. They had a lot of good players, I felt like, in Wisconsin, and just had a tough time against their pitching staff. And I know that last series of the season we were dealing with some guys not feeling well and some stuff going around the clubhouse. So a couple of tough stretches there, but other than that, an overall good season.
Yeah, that's an aside. We're going to move forward and go with the more positive things here. What do you think was the turning point in the year, right? You said May when the calendar flipped, you guys got on a streak, and that was very easy to see. What do you think happened in that streak that made you guys look up and say, hey, that changed and now we're ready to go?
Yeah, we were in all those games for the most part. They were competitive. We just were on the wrong side of them. And then we had that 2-week stretch where we went to, I believe it was South Bend and Quad Cities, and was able to win both those series. And it felt like they got a little momentum, and the guys were getting their confidence back a little bit because we had a lot of really good players on the team, and quite a few of them just kind of got off to slow starts there in April. And then once we hit that middle of May, guys started playing well and started to warm up a little bit. And I think the confidence grew for some of the guys and just kind of kept rolling from there.
And you've been with the Kernels, for a good amount of time now, and you've seen that people from warmer climates, I'm just off the top of my head here, Colette Rosario, who got off to a tough start in April and was just incredible from May on. A Hawaii kid, played his first couple of seasons in the Twin system in Fort Myers, and now you got to come up and play April in Wisconsin and Iowa, two not so warm climates. How tough is that transition for guys like that when they're playing in the wet, in the cold weather for really the first time in their career?
Yeah, it's definitely a factor. Guys who have never experienced it, and you're out there playing night games when it's low 40s, upper 30s, and having a hard time feeling your fingers or feet or whatever. And sometimes you're mentally thinking about it. I just want to get back inside instead of be it out on the field. So it is a bit of a grind. And those guys who have never experienced it before, it takes a bit of adjustment, but I think it's good for all of them to experience it and to know what it's like. So going forward, if they get to St. Paul or to Minnesota, they're going to have to experience that same thing again also. So now they'll be prepared and know what to expect. And sometimes guys don't get off to good starts, but then they can finish hot the rest of the season, just like Rosario did.
And as you say that, you move up the ranks, it doesn't get much easier when it comes to temperature because you're going more north to St. Paul and to Minnesota. So we get into May. Was there a point when you realized in the season, not realized, but maybe thought like, wow, this team has a chance to do something special here this season?
Yeah, we had a lot of good players out of spring training, and then we had a lot of help come from Fort Myers, especially on the pitching side. And when you have good pitching, it always gives you a chance to win baseball games every day. And we had a lot of really good performances from our pitching staff and give us a chance to win ball games. And then our offense kind of kept doing what they had done most of the season and score a bunch of runs and get on base and hit home runs. So I don't think you ever expect to maybe have your best season ever or that. You just know you have a chance to every day to win ball games. And, we had a lot of good players that put up good performances for the season and give us a chance just to win ball games every single day.
And you've been a part of some teams here in Cedar Rapids that have had a ton of success, making the playoffs 10 straight seasons. You've been a part of a bunch of those teams. And, going back to even last year in 2022, the team wins the first half, and then the second half is a little bit slower, and then you get in the playoffs and South Bend jumps you. This year, though, win the first half, and then you continue that success into the second half. How hard or how not hard is it to have that first half win in your pocket and keep playing like you have something to play for in the final, half of the season where there's 60 plus games that really, when you look at it, don't mean all too much when it comes to the playoffs or standings and stuff like that?
Yeah, it's always nice to get in the playoffs the first half. But then also from those individual performances, we were in as a team in the first half, but they're still playing for the team and themselves in the second half. They're still trying to get promoted or put up good performances to help move their careers along so they can get on to the next level. So it's always nice to clinch early, but the guys are still going out there playing hard, and you're still trying to win every day because it's not fun when you're losing, and trying to carry some momentum in the playoffs. And even though we kind of slid there at the very end that last week, I still felt like we had a really good second half and felt like we were ready to go.
And I'm glad you mentioned the individual performances because that's something that I chatted with Drew McPhail, whose podcast episode you can listen to on the Kernels All Year podcast presented by Miracle Ear. Go back. I believe we recorded that episode in early July. But a lot of people, I think, get the misconception in minor league baseball that it's really only about individual performances and there's not much team building. It's not much about the team. How wrong is that misconception that winning really matters to these guys, not just, okay, I go 3 for 4, which is important to them, obviously, as they try to progress into their career. But to make winning plays and have a winning attitude, how important is that? And how often is that seen, with the Kernels and around the minor leagues?
Yeah, it goes both ways. You want to do well as an individual because your ultimate goal is to try to make it to the big leagues, but you're also wanting to win ball games and build the atmosphere around the clubhouse because it's more fun when you win. And you also learn how to win too, because when you get to the big league level, it's all about winning up there. And if you're used to winning at the minor league level or coming up through with players who are used to winning in the minor leagues, I think it builds that repertoire between the guys and then also hopefully can carry it to the big leagues. So, I know these guys this year are excited because they would come to the ballpark every day ready to work, but they were confident too and talking to each other about, hey, we're going to go out and win another ball game again today. So I think once you get that confidence as a player and as a team, it kind of just builds each day.
And it seems like that's a pretty contagious attitude to get once you get it. Is that something throughout the Twin system that is preached, that we want to create this winning mindset so our guys go up and get to target field and they know how to win?
Yeah, I think so. We want to do well individually, but we also want to try and win when we can. Some days you're not going to play well, and also some days you may not have everybody available to try to win the ball game that day. But More times than not, we're trying to win as many ball games as possible, or at least give ourselves the opportunity to win each day.
Cedar Rapids Kernels, let the good times roll. Hey, Kernels. Hey, Kernels.
Hearing is important to living life to the fullest. That's why inside every Miracle Ear store, you'll find better laughs at family barbecues. You'll find a better life is in store at Miracle Ear when you experience the Miracle Ear exclusive advantage. It starts with our free hearing assessment, plus innovative products that will fit your needs and budget. With free service and adjustments for life, call 319-243-7105 to schedule a free hearing evaluation and find a better life in store. Our local Miracle Ear team is proud to support the Cedar Rapids Kernels.
Group outings are a great way to unwind and enjoy a night out, and we invite you to reach out to our group sales staff and see all the options we have.
Everybody knows when you're at the game, the good times roll. Hey, Kernels, let the good times roll. Cedar Rapids Kernels, let the good times roll.
Calvin Christoforo, Cedar Rapids Kernels manager Brian Dinkelman, the Midwest League Manager of the Year in 2023, talking all things Kernels in the championship victory this past season in Cedar Rapids over the Great Lakes Loons. What a night that was to win it at home in front of the home fans, because it's one thing to win a championship, and yes, in Cedar Rapids, it's been 29 years, so they would have taken a championship, regardless, but to win it at home, that just seems like a cherry on top to what was a memorable year.
Yeah, absolutely. Those last two games, their games 2 and game 3 at home, the crowd was amazing. Being middle of September, school nights, it was still playoff baseball, but the crowds were awesome. They were into the ball games. They were excited. When Emmanuel Rodriguez hit that grand slam, I don't think I've ever heard it so loud in there to give us that lead, and then to finally win it there in the 7th inning. The excitement in the crowd. So yeah, the fans were awesome, and to be able to win it at home there in front of them was really exciting.
The playoff format now with the 2 series, one away, well, in this case, as it was set up with the first half champion being the home seed, the home field advantage team in the first half, and then the Midwest League Championship Series, where this year the East team was the road team and the West team was the home team. You've been through a couple of different variations, the postseason when it was single A level before the pandemic, then in 2021 when it was just the 2 biggest teams, and now in 2022 and 2023, this new playoff format. Is this a format you enjoy, you think, with the 2 series, 3 games, 1 on the road, 2 at home?
Yeah, it's a quick series. You got to come out and be ready to play right away, especially if not, it can be over real quick. Going back to when it was low A, it was 3 rounds, and it was best of 3, best of 3, best of 5. So to get through that and try to win a championship with that way the format was tough. And then in 21 there was kind of a different year with the first COVID year, I guess, back, and it was just the top 2 teams. We played a best of 5 series. So this new format's good. 4 teams are in, and a quick 2-3 game series, and try to win a championship.
What are some of the challenges of these series, and why do you think you guys were able to come out on top in the 2 series that you did play?
Yeah, we got good pitching pretty much the whole time in the playoffs, and it keeps us in the ball game. And that first game of the championship series, we fell behind early, but the guys stayed with it, and the pitching job, or the bullpen, did an awesome job keeping us in it. And then we got the big home run there by McCusker in the 9th to help us win the ball game. So as long as you have pitching and it keeps you in a ball game, it gives your offense a chance to try to get you back in it.
I'm glad you mentioned pitching, because that transitioned just beautifully to Corey Lewis in the year that he had, starting in single A Fort Myers, and then with the Kernels at the end of the year, just named the Twins minor league pitcher of the year. Just a great year for Corey. What do you think made him so sharp? The transition from single A to high A is a pretty big one, but he had a lot of success down there. What do you think made him so sharp when he got to Cedar Rapids?
Yeah, Corey had a phenomenal year for us down in Fort Myers and with us. He throws strikes, and his repertoire of pitches that he has is very unique. So I think it helps keep the hitters off balance some, because they don't really know what to expect, and they see a knuckleball that very few pitchers have. So, it allows him to have some success, and he does a good job with the other pitches that he has also. And he was huge for us there in the playoffs, even though he wasn't feeling the best his first start, and then came back there and was able to pitch an amazing game there in game 3 to help us win the championship.
Had you ever coached anyone before that threw a knuckleball?
Not coached against. I played against a few guys when I was playing, but yeah, the first one I've ever had as a coach.
Just such an interesting thing because teams are thrown off by it. I don't know anyone else in the league that did throw the knuckleball, but it's just a tough pitch to pick up on when you see it for the first time.
Yeah, especially at the velocity he throws it at when it's 84 to 86, because most knuckleballs are upper 70s, maybe 80 miles an hour. So to have that extra velo on it and then the movement makes it a tough pitch to hit.
I think one of the things that also made the Kernels so good this year was the core group really was able to stay together most of the season. Tanner Schobel got off to such a good start. He left the team, promoted mid-July. He earned that promotion after he was so good with Cedar Rapids all year long. But how much easier is it, to coach a team that's really felt like they're together and it's the same group all season long?
Yeah, when you have that core group like that that's here the whole season, everybody gets to know each other really well. You know what guys can do, what positions can play, and other things they can do. So it makes it a little bit easier because a lot of times, guys play well and then they leave halfway through the season and move on to the next level, which is awesome for their development and gets them closer to where they want to be. But like we said earlier, we had a lot of young guys early in the season. So for them to get promoted, it was going to take a really strong performance or just let them stay here and have a really good season and then move on next season.
One of those guys, and we touched on him a bit earlier, but Coletti Rosario named the Midwest League MVP. He just had such a monster season this year in Cedar Rapids. What do you think was one of the two biggest pieces to his success and why he was so good with us this year?
Yeah, Rosie had a really amazing season. I don't think he hit his first home run until first week of May or something like that, and ended up hitting 20 or so. But he does such a good job with the strike zone. He will take his walks sometimes when they give it to him. I think he had 80, 90 walks, something like that, which for such a young player in high A is really impressive. And then be able to do damage with the baseball when he does hit it. So yeah, Rosie was really amazing this year.
Bunch of different guys offensively had monster years. Ben Ross, also someone that was called up right at the end, but with Rosie in that home run race, a guy that said he didn't hit his first home run until he was in college, a little smaller guy, but Ben just had such a good impact on this team, ability to play all different positions as well. Missed the playoffs, but still someone that was with the Kernels all season long and had a phenomenal year.
Yeah, Ben coming, from a smaller college school and, his athletic ability is amazing. He can play multiple positions. He can run. He has power in his bat. So yeah, he has a lot of tools that makes him a really good baseball player. And, he did a nice job for us there and earned that promotion up to Double-A there toward the end of the season.
We touched on how good the pitching was really as a group as well. This is kind of a two-part question, and you can say a couple different guys, but a lot of people look at the stats and they know Emmanuel for, where he ranks on all the websites and stuff like that. They see the 20 home runs from Rosie, but who do you think is a guy that, didn't get the recognition they deserve for how they played this year? One as a position player and one on the pitching side.
Yeah, I mean, Noah Miller was really strong on defense. His offense got better as the season went on. I know the first half was probably not what he was looking for, but his second half was a lot better, especially from the left side. But his defense was so strong every day at shortstop to make amazing plays for us, to help the pitchers out and, just get us extra outs that, most shortstops probably don't make that play. So that was really strong for us. And then on the pitching side, man, we had a lot of strong performances. I know CJ was good when he came up from Fort Myers, and Andrew Morris was really strong those 6-7 starts that he had for us. And he was throwing one of his best games ever there in Game 2 of the championship series before the rain started. And he was really good for us though once he got here.
Stay connected with the Cedar Rapids Kernels all year long by following the Kernels on social media. Catch up with the Kernels on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at CR Kernel.
Calvin Christopher, Kernels manager Brian Dinkelman here, reminiscing on what was the 2023 Midwest League Championship Series winners, the Cedar Rapids Kernels, first title in Cedar Rapids since 1994. We've kind of beat around this question a couple of times. But when you look at it this season, what do you think made this team different than the 9 other Kernels teams in the past, the teams you've been a part of with the Kernels that fell a bit short when it came to the postseason?
Yeah, I just feel like we were really strong on both sides of the baseball. Offense was really good, led the league in runs, power, get on base, and the pitching staff was amazing too. The starting pitching was really good. They get deep into ball games, and it helps out your bullpen also, where you don't have to rely on them to get 5-6 innings every night. So both sides of the baseball really strong. And then, when you get in the playoffs, they're 3-game series. You never know what might happen. We had some big performances there. And like we said, McCusker with the big home run. Emmanuel Rodriguez had a couple of big games there in the playoffs for us. So, a couple of guys really stepped up there in the moment and was able to help us win.
I think a group on this team that we haven't mentioned that I think deserves a lot of the credit too is your fellow coaches on the coaching staff. A couple of first-year coaches with the Twins organization, Corbin Day, Jonas Lovin, Carlos Hernandez, obviously a major league pitcher. Just a good group of coaches in there with Jason Perez as well. How much impact do you think they had in this team's success? Corbin working with the hitters every day, Carlos and Jonas on the pitching side, and Yason obviously as well with the hitters and the development side of things as well.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, even though manager of the year goes to me, it's a staff award because I can't do it without those guys. Corbin and Yason every day preparing the hitters to be ready to face the pitchers that we're starting against and the bullpen guys. And I think Drew said it best, like whenever new guys would come in out of the bullpen, like all the hitters run over to Corbin and Yason to like get information that what we're gonna see from the pitcher that day. So I think it just shows how much the hitters buy into what they're being taught from those guys and understand what they're trying to do. And then Jonas and Carlos were amazing with the pitching staff too. Those guys were ready to pitch every day. They did an amazing job of, pounding the strike zone, striking guys out and, helping us win the championship. So, yeah, the staff was amazing this year. I know we had some new guys and the whole staff was new to me. I never worked with any of them before, but I felt like we gelled together really well after the first few weeks and got to know each other. So it was a really good season. And
you mentioned buy-in when, hitters would go over to Corbin and buy in what he was preaching. I'm sure that's something that, happens most of the time, but not all the time when they're fully committed to the teachers that are teaching them. On this team, did you feel like it was a complete unit buy-in? And if so, how important was that in the success this year?
Yeah, I think it just takes time to get used to knowing the players and understanding what information that they like and what players don't like what information. So, once they get to know each other and go over the plan of what we're going to do that night and what the pitchers that we're going to face, what they're trying to do to us. And I think the hitters really trusted Corbin and Yason. Like they were going to give them a good plan and like give them information that they could go up to the plate and have an idea what they're going to do for the night. And I think the results speak for themselves.
One of the league's top offenses, of course, one of the league's top pitching staffs, added together a pretty good year in a Midwest League Championship in 2023. When you look back on it, do you have a favorite moment or memory from this season? I'm sure there's a bunch that may come to mind. But we'll take the winning the championship and holding the trophy out of the equation. Do you have a favorite memory that you're going to remember from this season?
Ooh, I don't know. We had so many stretches there where we played well. We had, I think, 3 6-game winning streaks, whatever, something like that. Just the competitiveness that we had every night. I think we only had I know we had that one game in South Bend. We kind of got blown out. Maybe been one other one, but it seemed like every night we were in almost every ball game and had a chance to win late into a game, which during a baseball season, when you play 132 games, you're not going to have that almost every night. You're going to have stretches where you have a dozen, 20 games, whatever, where you're just not in it that night. But yeah, I mean, I think just the environment in the clubhouse of winning every night and how excited they were to win ball games and then come back the next day and be ready to do it again. So just the whole season in general was just a blast for all of us.
How important do you think that aspect is in a 132-game season to stay fresh and keep the hunger going? Because I feel like when you look at the end of the season, sometimes the lights at the end of the tunnel, okay, I'm ready for this to be done. But it seemed like the guys weren't ready for it to be done. They always had that comeback and that fight in them. Did you see that as well? And how critical was that in the success this year?
Yeah, I think you're 100% right on that. Sometimes you get close to the end of the season, guys have been playing since middle of February when spring training starts and, it's a grind, and I get to that point where, like, I'm still playing baseball, but I'm ready to go home for a little bit. And like you said, I don't think those guys felt that this way. I think they were wanting to win since we had clinched it in the first half. And I think they wanted to win that championship and knew that whenever the season was over, they'd go home whenever it was over. So I think they were ready to stay and try to put their best foot forward to win that title.
Well, they were ready to stay, and they won the championship in 2023. Midwest League Manager of the Year, Brian Dinkelman, joining us. Dink, thanks so much for taking the time. We really appreciate it, and I hope potentially maybe we'll see you again next year.
Absolutely, Calvin. Thanks for having me on, and hopefully maybe I'll see you guys again next year.
That is the Cedar Rapids Kernels all-year podcast presented by our friends over at Miracle Air. We're rolling out an off-season podcast series this year, so make sure you stay tuned for that. This is off-season episode 1 here in the 2023-2024 off-season.
Choosing Miracle Ear was a great decision. Like when I decided to host family movie nights. Miracle Ear made it easy. I just booked an appointment, and a certified hearing care professional evaluated my hearing loss and helped me find the right device calibrated to my unique hearing needs. Now I enjoy every moment. The quiet ones and the loud ones.
Your local Miracle Ear team is proud to support your Cedar Rapids Kernels. Enjoy the game.